Call the meeting to order. This is a town council meeting dated June 5th, 2019. We all swear to I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody here today. We have a fun-filled evening for everyone planned here. I'd like to start off with the mayor's update. We have cupcakes. We must be somebody's birthday. Whose birthday would it be?
Thank you.
Anyway, before we get too far along, though, we probably ought to do a roll call.
Debbie Pop?
Marty Elizabeth here.
Cindy Vassar.
And Paul Edwardson and Mike McLaughlin are both excused, or both at scout camp or something like that. So camping out with the kids. And so anyway, so back to the mayor's update. Danny Bass, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy that we always love it when someone's birthday because we get cupcakes.
29, right? 29 or 39?
Probably 69 or something.
Add
them together. Thanks to Tish.
Thank you. Anyway, Danny's a big help around here. So as far as mayor's update, just go over a couple of things. We had a nice break. I almost fell out of sync from my life as a mayor because we had a day off. That's rare. Last week we didn't have a meeting. It's unusual. It seems like we always have a meeting. So anyway, I hopped on a plane, flew to Ohio, actually Detroit. Drove from Detroit to someplace in Ohio, picked up a dump truck, drove to Iowa, picked up the yellow contraption behind the dump truck, and drove on home. And so I had fun last week, and that was what I did instead of a meeting, and it was quite enjoyable. We have an awesome truck for the money and that budget that we had constrained. It's an inline 6 diesel, and it has an automatic in it, so anybody can drive it. Not literally anybody, where I can just loan it out to people, but you know, it doesn't take a CDL. A guy like me can drive it. In other words, you know, someone's not quite as smart as the average. So anyway, but it's a wonderful truck, and happy that we were able to find something so clean. So hope it holds up for us.
Thank you for devoting all your time and energy.
Oh, my last week to
Thank you.
the cause.
Yes.
The reason I did that,
Very good.
the reason I did that, it was $2,500 to ship the road groomer. The road groomer that's behind the truck, we haven't purchased that. It's on loan to us, so we can try it out, see if we even like it. And the only catch was, you know, figuring out how to get it here. And when the dump truck came available, that was just down the street, so to speak, when relatively speaking, Ohio to Iowa, following the same path. It just seemed like a sweet way to do it. And instead of shipping the truck, let's just drive them both back, and that saves us about $5,000 in some shipping. Maybe, you know, with gas and everything, it's only $1,000 to save us. But anyway, it was, for me, saving the town $4,000. It was worth taking a few days to go drive it. So anyway, so we're anxious to try that out. We've left this out front just so everybody can see it for the next 2 meetings that we have here at the town. Then we'll go get it dirty and put it to work. But right now, we're just going to keep it clean so everybody has a chance to see it first. So, as far as other town update stuff, I think that's all I can think of right this minute. So, I think we could. We've got a public hearing scheduled for CIB grant application process. I think that we might be best to explain a little bit about what we're doing and then open the hearing. Is that okay for everybody?
Yeah.
So the CIB application, we have Marv in the front row here. He's with Sunrise Engineering, and he's one of the companies I've been speaking with regarding our stormwater problem that we have, and, a couple of the companies I've, consulted with have pretty much given me the same information, that, we need to spend some money on engineering to get this, studies done that tell us where the water's coming from, how much water's coming, so we know how to mitigate it, which will make us look like we know what we're talking about when we go to FEMA and ask for a couple $1 million. And they want to know that we actually have a problem first off, how we're gonna fix the problem, and how big of a problem is it. And that's what Barb's gonna help us figure out. Is that a nice short explanation?
Yeah, that was good.
You want to add something to it?
So, yeah, I was probably just talking at this juncture, because you set it up pretty nice. So the town of Apple Valley's been on the priority list, Washington County's priority list, which CIB uses for their funding. They've been on it for quite a while. It's number 2, I believe. And with $250,000 in grant, $250,000 loan mix with unknown FEMA funds attached to that. The mayor, in his wisdom, realized that, hey, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go for that money until we know exactly what we need. So that's when he contacted us. And through a process, we've completed an application for the CIB. Instead of for a $500,000 study, it's for a $50,000 grant with the town match to do the stormwater, the comprehensive stormwater study. It'll tell you the flows, where you know where the problems are, but we'll try to identify the fixes for those problems.
Well, we know where and I like to differentiate the difference in this, because we know where the flooding is, but why is it flooding?
Yeah.
Where's that water coming from?
Where's it coming from? Can there be some mitigation efforts? So at the end of that study, hopefully we'll be able to have some recommended improvements to eliminate or mitigate that flooding with potential funding sources. And then we talked to CIB about that. They love the approach. They recognize that it's better to understand the problem before you try to solve it.
Yeah.
You're also on the list for impact fee analyses and mapping, and so we combine those two together for a total application. And that's what the application has been submitted to the CIB. The deadline was Monday at 5 o'clock. We met that deadline. One of the requirements of the application is that the town holds a hearing, a public hearing, to tell you what the application's for, and then part of the CIB's process is they'll ask for the minutes from this meeting, and that's one of the checks that they need in order to fund it. The funding's up right at the top of what CIB will do without making you go to the board. So they will approve this at staff level. The next item is just the minutes from this meeting.
Let me say that in layman's terms. It used to be to get a CIB application, we were on a list, we drove up to the CIB, we actually appeared before the board. The board talks to us in a lot of other places over the course of a month and a half to 2 months, and then you get to find out whether or not you get to have the money. And they've changed that for impact fees
For studies.
For studies, to where it's a staff approval. So we just get the application in, and probably within a couple of weeks or whatever the time frame is, you know, pretty much once we get the paperwork in, they say, okay, you can have the money. So it's more instant than before. And so let's give us money right away. Mark gets to work and get the stamps dirty, and then we get to start having our information. So the process here on the FEMA money is he does his homework and gets his crew of people together to get the stormwater thing figured out, get to work on the next application, which is going to be CIB again, to get our approval for our $250,000 grant and $250,000 loan from CIB And then right after that, then we go to FEMA with another application. With that approval in hand, now we go to FEMA and see if we get the 1.5 grant from FEMA. And if we can't get a grant from FEMA, if for some reason that someone else has a sadder song than us and we lose out on that, we, at least at that point, we still have that $500,000 that we can figure out how much can we get done. It's not gonna be as much as what we want to do. My thinking on this is to, you know, we've talked about the Band-Aid approach, and when I was first mayor, I thought, let's just get some pipe down here by Mount Zion Drive. I live down there, and having the water drain into pipe and go down the wash, that'd be a nice treat. But the pipeline that's also across the road in front of my house is 3/4 full of mud right now. And so I can see, as I get a little smarter and meet with engineers, that having a pipeline full of mud between here and the washes that we spent $40,000 to $50,000 putting in is not really an answer. And that's what we want to do, is come up with some fixes that are more permanent. Some of the conversations I've had, just to share one tidbit, is one of those mitigation type of efforts that we might do is come up with a detention basin. If you've been to Arizona ever, or even you know, Nevada, they have them everywhere. Massive detention basins to catch all that flood water that comes in, holds on to it, slowly releases it. And so in concept, we could do that up further upstream, catch the water before it hits Mount Zion Drive, and now Mount Zion Drive doesn't flood to where the pipeline even needed is smaller, which saves us money, but it also it helps slow down the water, lets the sediment fall out of the water before it enters the pipeline to keep it cleaner and makes it flow better. So these are things that these engineers kind of figure out and explain to me, and I think that, you know, we want to fix it. We want to catch the water. For example, on this hill up here, we have it rushing down here, flooding right smack down this through Buddy James property right here. And imagine if we caught that water at the top of the hill and diverted it into a detention area at the top of the hill, and now what's coming down the hill is 25% of what used to come down the hill. Now he's not flooded anymore without even adding a pipeline. So, you know, those are the kind of ideas that we've been bouncing around, and we're looking at a comprehensive approach to this instead of, oh, let's just throw a pipeline here and throw a pipeline there. We want to catch the water where it's coming from and do more. So, anyway. I move that we open the public hearing for CIB grant application process for stormwater drainage study.
And second motion?
Vote.
Aye.
Aye. So, hearing is open. Go ahead.
Little pictures help?
Yes, and any of them that you guys have, feel free to video especially. So, anything that you guys have, that will be helpful. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be really good. We do have some pictures attached to the application, but,
When we get as far as FEMA though, it's
Oh,
good
yeah.
to have a little bit
Well, I
of
got some
Absolutely.
real bad ones after a monsoon rain, so.
that'd be helpful.
the more devastating, the more compelling.
Yeah, this is devastated, 40 acres of flooded land.
I have some video too.
Okay, that's great. Anybody else? Yes.
So, I realize that it's too soon to say, you know, how are you gonna fix this problem and stuff, but will there be wash stabilization,
Yeah.
as well as?
Good point. That's
pipelines?
something that we noticed when we're driving around with the mayors. There's quite a few washes. So FEMA will do some of the pre-mitigation work. NRCS does a lot of the wash stabilization. So that will be looked at as part of the study. I think you need some over here in order to protect. And the guidelines for those funding sources are just protecting property valuables. Then you score higher, and I can see how that should score pretty good. So,
So like, we should do rain dances?
We
should hope for really
if you've already got the photographs, you're probably good.
I had my car washed.
mean, we certainly don't wish, flooding on anybody, but if anyone wants to volunteer, take one for the team. Yeah.
Well, it's, anyway, is there any other comments, any questions? Yes, one.
So when the water's in a detention pond and we draw that out, where does that water go? Or what do we use that for?
Well, I would think that we're gonna have to pipe it out of there, so in other words, we're just going to, it's kinda like you have a man-made lake, basically, that fills up very fast, and then you have a small pipe that drains it slowly, so that way you're controlling how much comes out. Does that sound like a?
Right, so what it does is it takes what you normally see,
Right.
it heads down the drainage and forces it to this amount, and retains it up higher and lets out slower. And there's a lot of those all, even throughout the county,
Right.
that do a very, very good job.
And where that helps is now every so often maybe you have to clean out the mud out of that detention basin, but that's better than cleaning out the pipe. So. Yes.
And FEMA grants are like nationwide, where
Yes.
competition will be,
Yes.
like all kinds of places,
Yes.
as opposed to state by state?
Yes.
This retention basin, is this like a concrete structure? You put in a concrete floor like they did at Hurricane?
Some of them can have a concrete floor, it makes it easier to clean out, but most of them don't have one. Most of them have a little bit of a armor on the water side of the dike, and then are just earthen.
That's nice.
Rich Scott?
Yeah, Rich Scott, Lebanon, 3 East Big Pinion. So do we know where the hot spots are, where it's coming down, or does that have to be determined also?
That's what this is gonna pay for.
So what, through geo mapping or whatever to see?
Yeah, we will put the entire area in a GIS map with
Mhm.
an aerial background, and we'll actually come out and shoot some elevations that we're not able to get from public domain. That needs to be a little better accuracy. We can get meter accuracy, but some areas we'll have to get closer than that, and we'll go ahead and survey that.
Mhm.
And then we model it, put it in a model and simulate a storm. And the storm that governs in Washington County is typically the 6-year, 3-hour storm is typically what the majority of the municipalities and entities utilize. So that means the storm that you design, you can't design for the 100-year storm because that would break it. So you design for a 6-year storm with a 3-hour intensity, so that's that really strong monsoon that just is a gully washer. That's what you design for typically. But part of the process is to determine what that design storm and the intensity ratio is.
Reverend Sassi, 124 West Lieutenant. So when you have a detention basin, does the water just leave it evaporate, or does it stay stagnant, or what happens?
It flows out slowly,
Oh, okay.
down the same drainage, but just slower.
Okay. Because we don't want mosquitoes, do
No.
we?
No, I would think it probably, depends on how full it is, but it's probably about 2 days if the empty, in most cases, so.
Yeah.
You'll have to excuse Margie, she's on the mosquito abatement.
Any other questions?
I got one more.
Yes.
1064 West Foothill Drive, I forgot to tell you that before. On this FEMA thing, we're gonna be in real bad competition with some people back east that got just slammed. So our problem is gonna look minuscule to what they got. They can't even put crops in this year, so how do they have things for like other people out here, maybe percentages
You know,
that we go after? or-
They probably do. They've always had disasters, and they always seem to be much worse back east, whether it's a hurricane or flooding like this. But
I'm talking about the flooding,
There's-
you know,
yeah.
the tornadoes and stuff.
there's always been they've never cut off the money, so, I don't know, better government.
I just, just a
policies.
question, I don't know how they do it.
I think there's a different pocket though.
They may come from a different, so you know that some of that, the Congress was trying to pass an emergency declaration to fund that separately, and so maybe that's how.
And they have dedicated funds for what we're doing, so what they've done is, they've come up with a, convention we were at here just recently, in St. George. They talked about this program, a guy from FEMA, and he says that, FEMA's dedicated some money to, trying to alleviate a disaster, because they feel like if they could fix a disaster before it happens, they would be costing less money than a disaster happens, and now it's bigger dollars to fix the problem, and so it's a different pot of money.
Yeah.
And this is intended to fix, potential flooding as opposed to what you're talking about.
It's called disaster mitigation,
Right,
so they try to
it's
handle.
a different program.
Can we just send pictures to the mayor?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So basically, this first portion is gonna be a $50,000 grant, $50,000 from us that we already have set aside, so it's not gonna be a loan that we're collecting interest on and,
Yeah, we've set aside money, in two ways. There's two parts of the CIP application. One is impact fees, and then the other is the storm drain. And, we have this down as two items, but, technically they probably should be, they're in the same application, it probably should be all one item, but, anyway, the storm drain is $25,000 grant, 25,000 matching funds from us, and that comes from our, stormwater fees that we charge, and we have that money on hand, so we don't have to do a loan. We're just gonna take some of the funds on hand to pay that. And then this gets him going on what he needs to help us qualify for the other, applications and grants. And then the, impact fee, I know that Sean has probably been on our butts to take care of an impact fee study since about 2018. And, it keeps getting kicked down the road. And, so some of this, money, since we're already going for a grant anyway, we have actually already approved to move ahead with an impact fee study as a town council. Might as well, let's try and get some grant money to help us, because the impact fee actually shot up in price from what we thought we were gonna spend, and now it's put us back into a position where it's challenging for us to afford the whole thing. So having some grant money from them makes it so we can pull this off. And so we have grant money now and some of our own cash that was set aside for our impact fee study. Between the both, we have that much cash, so we can put that down. It doesn't cause us to have any loan payments. And, but it gives us the engineering funds we need to, correct this and get on
Do it the right way.
Get it the right way. Did I say that all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes, Tish.
And so the money that we're putting in, we get credit with CIB with regards to repaying the loan?
Yes, well, what would happen is the, when we go to CIB for that FEMA grant matching funds, the 250,
Right.
we could actually say that we've already paid in 25,000 towards this study, which was done so we can get to 250,000.
It gives a bonus point.
And so so now we only have to come up with another 225, or get a loan for 225 instead of the whole 250.
Okay.
So it gives us credit towards that, because this is part of the process, and that's why they're willing to help us do this as well. This is why I think they'll approve the grant, because they know that we're trying to do the paperwork, do it the right way, so we can get the bigger money that they know we need. And they have us on our list. We're number 2 on the funding list of possible funding for grant and loan right now. And so I'm hoping to stay there. The only one that was ahead of us was Hilldale with their water problems, and they've got some serious problems there, so. Anyway, everybody else was just saying, oh, I need a new building here, or I need some money there. So, anyway, ours was a dire problem. Any other questions?
Yeah, Rich Scott, 1193 East McPenny. Just one last question, like what kind of time frame would the public know if it was yay or nay? Is it a year, 6 months, 3 years, 5
You're
years?
probably talking about the the money for FEMA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the final tank. What do you think our time frame will be on something
With
like that?
FEMA, their cycle is they, first of the year, they wanna have the applications in, so we wanna be done. With any applications, it's gonna rush it a little bit, but we wanna be done by November, December timeframe, so that we can start writing on the application.
And then how long after that do you know whether you were approved or not?
I think it's April timeframe.
Oh, so it's a relatively pretty quick turnaround.
And they don't quote me on that. But
Oh,
I think that's-
This way we're not constantly bringing it up at meetings. Have we heard anything? Have we heard anything? Have we heard anything?
I heard it could be as soon as February from somebody, so
Mhm.
it's, but it's not gonna be a year or 2 years.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Mhm.
it's an annual thing. They look at the application,
Right.
they say who gets the money, and then we go from there. And it could be we don't get the money, but I'm confident we'd at least walk away with $500,000, and we'll do what we can with that if we don't, but, Margie?
So if you get denied, can you resubmit then?
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely.
With the same information, or do you have? oh,
Yep, same information already.
put better
done.
pictures in or something.
The next year. Okay, we can-
Couple hands.
Yeah.
Is there an estimated cost on this, or?
No, the study will determine that,
Okay.
on the improvements, yeah.
In other words, if, we only can get so much money, then we can only do so much work.
Right. And so the study will also have it in some phasing, so you take care of your first priorities first, and if there's not enough money, do them all.
But you know, what I like about it is that this is required information for us, even if we want to go out and pay cash and put a pipeline in. This information we can use to know how deep to put that pipeline, how big of a pipeline, where it's gotta be, what the angle of it is, what the slope should be. I mean, all that's important information, and this is going to be information that we get to use now. But this isn't just, it doesn't just stop there. You know, we have the Hankin Room, for example, when he comes in with development, and we hand this then over to these guys, they help us because they've already modeled all of this rainwater. They'll know what stormwater requirements we have for his project because we've done the homework on it. So any future development, you know, these are our guys, they'll already have the information, they'll know what we have to do. Any other questions? Okay. All right, want to move that we close the public hearing on item number 1, the CID grant application process.
I second the motion.
Vote.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we do have it on the list, so I'll go ahead and open up public hearing. I move that we open up public hearing for CID grant impact fee study. Item number 2.
Second.
Vote.
Aye.
Aye. I think we've kind of commingled these. Is there any other additional comments regarding the impact fee study from anybody? There's two separate things. Impact fee study is going to study, well, you know, for example, how much our impact fee should be for the fire department, and how much for parks and trails and roads. And what we have is out of date, and we just need to update it. So when we're charging a developer money, we are covered on what our study is going to be. We have evidence of what that should be. So if we ever got taken quote, we've got evidence of that we've done our homework. So if there's no questions on that, I move that we close public hearing.
Second.
Vote.
Aye.
Aye. So item number 3 is grant application stormwater. I move that we approve the grant application for stormwater. Move forward.
Second.
Vote.
Aye.
Aye. And item number 4, CIB grant impact fee study. You know, we've got a couple loose ends that Mark and I have talked about on this, and we have some flexibility on what our needs are going to be. Because when we dig into this, we do have some information that Enzyme has. And then we also have to determine how much of this should be water district and how much should be the town, because we have to separate that out possibly. And so, but even approving this right now doesn't lock us into that. It's we have the ability to have some flexibility on assigning blame, so to speak, when it comes to the
Do we
water.
have a cost tied to that impact study?
Yeah, and you've actually got a cost from Lewis Young as well. We put the max in, and it's gonna come down from that. But stormwater was, so the total was 100 grand. Stormwater's almost 70 of that. Public safety impact fee was 2,200. Parks and Trails, 6,300, roadway, 8,500. And then the mapping and water modeling was the rest. So, that was, I think you may be able to, we definitely need to have a meeting, a scope trimming meeting. After we come up with these numbers, the mayor got a hold of the mapping and sent it to us, and there's definitely some mapping and some savings there that we'll realize. So
right now, that's the highest side.
yes, that is the max.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay. So I move that we approve the CFB grant impact fee study
Okay.
and vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. And item number 5, I move that we table this item for future. I didn't know at the time to put this on here that Mike and Paul would be absent. And there is a conflict with Debbie because this is her property, and so we're not putting her in a position where she can vote to approve a zone change on her own property. Then only just 2 votes. And so I move that we table this for our next town council meeting.
Okay.
Vote.
Aye.
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 And we'll table that. Proposed fee schedule modifications. I think we're good to, Marv, if you want to take off, just,
Yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate you being here to answer questions for us.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Denny, just real quick, a little joke. Denny, did you know that birthdays were good for you?
Just what?
Birthdays were good for you, so you
Oh, they are?
drink. Yeah. The more you have, the longer you live.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Marv. All right, so what we're doing on the fee schedule, proposed fee schedule is just identified, along with Ben, his help on this, some different things that we felt I wanted to take care of. Number 1 on the list was a refundable cleaning deposit for the reservation of the pavilion, park pavilion. I spent 3 hours out there one afternoon cleaning it because someone had a birthday party and there was silly string everywhere. And I decided right then that we need a refundable cleaning deposit, so
Yes.
it makes them responsible for cleaning up after the home party. And if they don't clean up, that's fine. We'll just give that $150 to Kevin or whoever wants to clean it, and we'll at least have some pass-through money where we can pay somebody to do that. So that's one thing we're adding here. Credit card processing fees. We haven't ever really charged those like on a water bill. We feel like that if they're paying by credit card, it saves us the labor, the stamp, the envelope, the printing, and we felt like let's not worry about it on water bills and so forth. But once they get up over a couple $100, then I guess felt like that should be probably a recovery once we hit a benchmark. We have had some people come in and want to put their building permit, for example, on a credit card. And now you're talking $3,000, and so we want some kind of way to recover those processing fees that we have to pay from the bank. So.
Excuse me a minute, can we go back to the parks just for a second?
Yes.
Who's gonna be around to, let's say, certify that the park is clean or who's gonna be here to say it's
Well, I-
okay, so they get your refund?
I mentioned to Ben and Michelle that whoever gets that money back and didn't check the park
Okay.
will have to be the one cleaning it. So I think they're motivated to make sure that they get that check. But they will physically go out there and
All right.
inspect it before they write a check. So that'll make sure that.
Thank you, Michelle. And then,
Of course, I was joking with them, but
I know.
it could happen where somebody made a mistake, and then I'll go out and clean it myself if I have to, but it's, it would be nice if, I think just by charging it out up front, people know that they expect it clean. I think that we're not gonna have an enforcement problem anyway.
How do we handle when people just come on the weekends and they just have their party without renting the park and they leave the trash?
That came up in our meeting, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's a public park, and that stuff can happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, it's just those people who are reserving it for a large crowd, that's what I'm more concerned about, not someone that had, 3 or 4 family members got together and had a barbecue and spilled a little something. That's the small problem. It's the larger parties where it's silly strings everywhere, from one that place to the other because it was a birthday party.
We're gonna post it out to a sign saying, please clean it and use the park or whatever.
Well, they'll know that when they come in and pay the reservation fee.
Yeah, okay.
And get
Well, we have the small parties
That's
too,
what
though.
anybody does.
Right.
I'll get him one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do
When?
you think on the refund of the reservation fee that you should say like within 5 days or something, so they don't come knocking at the door immediately following before you've even had a chance to inspect? Is that legal, Tish? To say
Well,
5 days or
I
something?
think it should be the next business day, because what happens if some other small parties come in and they make a mess, and then the person that laid the deposit gets on the hook for cleaning it? I think it should be the next business day. So if they have a party on Saturday, they should come in on Monday, or we inspect on Monday morning, and it looks good, and then when they
Well,
come in, they get their
Ben,
refund.
you can figure that out, right, Ben?
Yeah, we can look out Michelle's window.
All right.
Yes, it's a view of the fence.
We might need to iron out some kinks on it, but I think for the most part, we're heading the right direction, so.
Mayor, I do think that the point that's been made though is a good one, and I've been thinking about that as we've been discussing it. We have someone that goes and checks it out right when they're done. They tell us, we're renting the pavilion for whatever time frame. Because there's no way to actually substantiate what, if they had the party on Saturday, whether someone came in on Sunday or after they were done and did that, that's right. And so it makes it much.
All right, well, I'll leave it up to Michelle to let me know that the park's running on Saturday. I'll go by Saturday night and make sure it's clean.
Or any of us know.
Yeah.
Any of us,
Absolutely.
we're one of the events committee people, we can go
Yeah,
check.
That's something I hadn't thought
Help,
of. Yeah, NBS committee. any of us
On
will
a
check.
rental, if they want power or water, we have to be available anyway, because the power and water is in the building. So there would already have to be a town employee here on rent.
And you have hours, don't you?
Well, I was gonna say, if we, have to open up the building for restrooms, we've gotta get a porta potty out there, at least that'll help that, but if you're letting them use any of the town facilities, we should be charging an hourly rate for whoever's gotta sit here to have the building open as well.
That should be factored in the cost.
And, so, maybe we could, you got any ideas on that, Ben?
But again, if you have hours and you say you can't rent the pavilion past 9 o'clock, I don't know how late you wanna go, or if you just go till dusk, however it is. But then you know that whoever's going to check that weekend, that you've alerted that there's going to be, it's been rented, we're not gonna have to go past 9 o'clock to come out and check and make sure it's clean.
All right. Okay,
Mayor,
yes.
we do have a benefactor that will pay for the porta potty. You just need to get here.
Yeah,
I'm working on that.
Okay.
apologies, we, should have had that installed by now, and, Ben says he'll, get it taken care of.
Will that be outside Michelle's window too?
Yeah.
Just frosted glass.
Hey, well, while we're on the potty subject, somebody forgot in the Mayor Town update was I finally did get plans for our septic system. And so we know the capacity, and I talked to Southwest to help on it, and, you know, we're good to go to put in 2 restrooms and hook it to our current system, and I know where the system is located based on the drawings they gave us. So we know that'll help us figure out where the bathrooms can actually sit and gravity feed, you know, for the waste going in there. So that saves quite a bit of money to be able to hook into that system.
Great.
So anyway, I finally got that done today. And, anyway, as we move on, I'm not sure what the local license, what does that mean on that, Ben? Do you recall?
That was just a wording change.
For zero business license?
Yeah, for nonprofits.
So, all right, so 0 license fee. Anyway, animal control, we X'd out all of the impound boarding fees because we don't have any boarding or any ability to pick up and hold dogs and so forth, so we just scratched all that out. The next page, zone change general amendment applications. I've had a lot of complaints from developers about the cost of doing business in Napa Valley. And I haven't worried about it too much, but I think that it's too high. Many municipalities, the general plan amendment and the zone change are the same price, but most of them also charge $1,000 each to do it. And you go to St. George and Washington and Ben might remember 2 or 4 more, but there's a half dozen of them that are around here that do charge exactly what we are charging. And but I feel like the general plan amendment is mostly because it's required on every single zone change. We can't hardly change any zone without having a general map change done too. That it's almost too high of a fee, especially when you get upwards of changing 1,000 acres, you end up $20,000 plus fee just to change the zone. If you want to change the general map, it's another $20,000, and I felt like that was exorbitant. The fee structure that Ben has down here is different from what he and I talked about. I'd like to propose that over 500 acres is $10 an acre, not 5. I think that worked out in our model, Ben. That 1,000 acres then would be $14,000. But the general plan amendment at $1,500 flat fee, no acreage charges, that would be on top of that. Now, at least it's reasonable for a guy that's changing 1,000 acres, in my view anyway. And so this was our recommendation. We used to be at, for the first, it was 1 to 100 acres, it was $500. And I'm recommending we change that to 25 per acre. Then from over 100 acres to 500 acres, it was $25 an acre. And I'm recommending we change that to 15. And then over 500 acres, it was $10. Is that right?
I just did the math on that. Yeah, if the target for 1,000 acres is $14,000, then it would stay at $10 per acre over 500.
And that's what you and I talked about in our model that we had gone over, and then somehow got type 5. I think it was just an oversight, but anyway, so I think we just make that on 10, and the base fee on zone change is 500 plus the acreage fee. Anyway, this tiered pricing, you know, one concern we always have to worry about is the trickle effect on our budget. And Ben and I have gone over the budget, and we feel like that even giving up this much money, it's going to make it more advantageous for the cost of doing business with Napa Valley, but it also doesn't hurt our budget. We've been conservative enough on our estimate of what we anticipate that I don't think it's going to have any detrimental effect to our budget that we're getting ready to pass. Is there any questions so far? On that from anybody? The next item down here was lot splits. We've been doing lot splits, and many of the staff felt like it should be per lot, not just a flat fee. We do have a cost associated when we do these lot splits, where we got to go in and change our GIS maps. That costs money to do that, and they feel like we should be charging $250 per lot because we have to go down, hire an engineer to load that particular parcel in there to show these correctly on our mapping. And so if the guy's taking 20 acres and put it into 3 pieces, it'd be $750. And so we're just changing that from lot split to $250 per. Now he's got down here per new lot. Can you give me an interpretation of that, Ben? Or are you saying that 3 lots?
Yeah, no, like you said, so the language does need to be adjusted on that with, if you take 1 lot and you're making 3 lots out of it, target fee is $750, then per new lot doesn't describe that accurately.
And just per lot would be more accurate, wouldn't it? Just per lot that's created, does that sound fair?
Yep.
Because that's what you intended on, right? So we just scratch out new on that. And the other thing that we wanted to address is some of these illegal lot splits that are happening. And I'll let our legal counsel weigh in if this is a bad idea, but basically, when we have an illegal lot split, we're gonna charge a little more money for them. So when they do come in and it's to fix an illegal lot split because they didn't do it right, we want to double the fee on it and charge them double because we want to try to teach guys like, I don't want any names, but that keep doing lot splits without permission or any coming to the town at all, that now when you want to do some of that, you got to come in and do it, and you pay twice the fee. It'd been cheaper if you just came in and begin with. Because lot splits are not that hard. They're not that hard to get along with on, and it's frustrating when they just do them on their own and they become illegal lots that now we have to fix later on. And so we want to double the fee if you've done that illegally. Any problem with that, Sean?
That's certainly unique. What I think we have to have probably a little bit better definition on the non-compliant, because I want to make sure we give you all the opportunity to do the right thing too, which is sometimes an unsuspecting buyer buys a lot that they didn't realize. They don't do their due diligence, and they should, and some title companies don't do as good a job as they should too in letting them know that that lot was split, or there might be an easement across there or something else. So you don't want them to have to pay an extra fee because they were being, so I think we can, I think we leave the language like this now, maybe come back and tweak it a little bit so we get to find what non-compliant means.
Okay.
Could I go back to the last one?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're doing this correctly, because I sense that the intent was to say if you have 1 lot and you make 3, you're only charging the fee for the 2 new lots, that's what you wanted to do originally.
The charge for 3 in that.
So you want to charge for all 3 lots then?
Well, it's 3 new tax
Okay.
IDs.
It is 3 new tax IDs. You're free to do it either way. I just want to make sure that
The reason we do it on all 3 of them is because of the GIS stuff we have to update on 3 lots.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of that is we do incur engineering fees on 3 lots.
Okay,
That's
so
my view.
so the new language says per lot
Per lot.
created.
Okay, we can add that to that.
Because you are, even though that's the parent lot, you're still creating 3 lots because it has now a different legal description.
All right, I'll add that to
Took
it.
out new and create.
And I'll put in the motion when we do this, that the non-compliant lot split part of this, we're going to let legal counsel provide us some additional verbiage for that better defines what non-compliant means. Does that sound fair? Yes.
We had discussed when we were talking about this non-compliant lot split, we talked about how we're going to be tracking these. And when the title company does send us that sheet that says, hey, do they have anything against this property, that we would indicate that there was an illegal lot split made, and that then the person who is selling the lot would be responsible to pay that fee. So that is what we had kind of talked about.
Yeah, and that would be, okay, so here's the problem, is the person that actually is selling that lot may have been a victim of a person 20 years ago that did it illegally. That's, in fact, on the way here, practically on the drive all the way from St. George here, I was on the phone with the title company over an issue with two neighboring lots where one didn't have access, and kind of the same thing, where we wouldn't today allow them to be two separate lots, but, and this title company person is saying, look, we've done this since the 70s, since I've been here, doesn't mean that it was legal. So do we gain the person now that, 25 years later, because they bought something they thought was,
Well, my feeling is if it happened 20 years ago, or there's some reasonable time period, but if it happened since the town was created, or, some reason.
Sure. And that's where they can come and appeal to you all if they want to, but that's why I want to come up with a better definition. And so it would be one that was, illegally created or something of that language.
Right, and we actually had used that word in our meeting, and it got translated into.
So we'll work on that verbiage, but that is the intent, but on the record tonight is for those who have an illegally created lot.
And can I suggest also that possibly what we do on that exact line item is we can put in there that they can appeal to the town council.
Well, and that's standard for any fee anyway, and so.
Let's make it black and white though,
Okay.
so they know that it's something that they can argue. If for some reason they feel like they got a leg to stand on, they can come and explain it.
And we can say unless otherwise approved by the town council.
Exactly, yes.
The other side of that is that we've only started keeping track of these as of the change of this. So we wouldn't have any previous records, we would probably only say, we just implemented this, and it would only be moving forward and
Yeah, we
not
could.
into the past, because we would only have a record of all those changes going forward.
Yeah, that's an idea too. But they're actually, Ben, somehow he's tracking any new lots created out in the valley every single month. He does a report, he's figured out how to do this, and we can tell if anything's changed, we know who did it, and we can send them out a letter saying that you've done this, and that you need to legally come in and fix it, so we're actually gonna contact them as well at the time. So proactively trying to prevent these lot flips as opposed to just let them go. So,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Rich Scott, 1193 East Big Canyon, doesn't the title company pick up if a lot was split
Not
legally?
necessarily, and.
Isn't that what you're paying them for though?
That's true, and, but also the recorder will record these, and we tried to get the law changed this year to require them to give the town or city notice prior to recording, so we could check it and make sure it's okay. For example, if this was a home, someone could split the park lot off and put the side yard only 5 feet from the building, which would violate our setbacks, and go down and record it, and the county will record it. The recorder's pushed back on it, we're gonna make another run at it this year, but right now, it makes it very difficult to track.
Yeah, we call them illegal lots, but technically they're recorded legally.
It's much easier to catch it on the front end. In fact, this discussion I was having with this title company person today, they were saying, well, just don't give them a building permit, just do it on the back end. And I said, that costs us more time, anguish for the property owner, and money to do it then than it does to catch it at the beginning and say, you did it wrong, fix it. And not too many months ago, we did exactly that with some lots that were, town didn't have a problem with them, they met our requirements, but they'd done it illegally, and so they just came in and made it legal. We don't want to discourage people from coming in and doing that by having a fee that they can't say, well, can we get that extra fee waived because we're trying to correct it now,
Well, if they've intentionally done it, like some people,
Sure.
I'm okay to charge them myself.
Sure, absolutely.
Just, they know how to do it the right way, they just
Don't want to
chose to circumvent the process, and that I didn't like whoever's idea it was to penalize them. So I'd like to put some teeth in it that they're now encouraged to do it the right way. Once the word gets out.
Because the cost to the town is greater than to go and correct that.
Yeah. Yes. So any other comments on that point? Next one is a planning staff review fee. We had no fee down there before, but the planning staff review is usually where we're sending this something off to Mike Versamack to review, and we have to write Mike a check every time we send something to him. And so we are just adding a planning staff review, charge in there, assuming it's gonna go to Mike, but we're really just trying to charge actual money on this. It's not trying to ding a fee as much as, pay for our costs. Site, plan review is really, we were talking about what's the difference. I'm not sure there is any difference, so, but it's also 150 plus any actual cost for site plan review. And, so on the,
That's a strike through, the next item, the strike through zone change, that was just relocating the zone change from, where it was under, it had been under amendments, and it's now
I
under
see.
zoning.
That's kind of weird to be under there at all.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we just moved where it belongs, okay? And then, the valuation, this is, a change that is coming to us. We have, I was gonna suggest they could use the office if they want. So on the, total valuation, we've had basically some, benchmarks here of what we do to calculate our zone, or excuse me, our building permits. We're switching over to a computerization model that is online. This computerized model is going to allow someone to go in there and put in how many square feet is your garage, how many square feet are your patios, how many square feet is the house, does it have a basement, how many square feet is that? And you plug all this information in, it'll give you an estimated building permit. This particular software uses the international ICC building valuation. And they update that every year, usually around February or so. And so right now, our building valuations are probably 5 years old, and as the costs go up, now our valuation isn't accurate anymore. So the software is going to update every single year, and what our proposal is here is the valuation will be based on the current ICC building valuation model. And so every year, it'll just automatically update, and every year, our numbers will be accurate. And so this keeps us up to date on what our building, what our permit fees are gonna cost. And instead of just using the spreadsheet that we're currently using right now. Any questions on that? From anybody? Anybody in the audience? Okay. Cemetery rates. I suggest that we cross that off. We don't have a cemetery, and it seems crazy we have fees down there for something, a service we don't offer. And so those are struck out. So, any questions on the fee schedule at all? All right, well, I'll do this motion. I move that we approve the change to the fee schedule, proposed fee schedule, and on the non-compliant lot created, our legal counsel's indicated that he'd like to tweak the verbiage on that. The item itself will remain as is far as the dollar amount goes, but he wants to polish that up, and that I'm okay with that. The other change is on the acreage is $10 instead of the $5, and the lot splits. I think everything else is was done correctly. I also move that we adopt the ICC building valuation, and I'll call it the current ICC building valuation, because every year it will be updated. We will just, as it's updated, we will continue to use the most recent fix available. Second.
Second?
Vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Adoption of amendment on the garage sizes. Any questions on this so far?
I think
I was, feeling like we, had missed, the opportunity to put in something about, steel buildings, but someone's corrected me saying that we felt like it's, addressed in other areas of our code. So, if you guys are okay with it, take a motion?
Mayor?
Yes.
So you had a previous public hearing on this?
Yes, we have.
Okay. So just wanted to make sure that we.
Yeah, last planning meeting, they recommended we approve it and had a public hearing on it. Yeah, we've been working on this for about 3 months now.
I know. I remember the last discussion I I parked outside for a week.
So, anyway, so I think let's just focus on the rest, and are you guys okay with this?
I make a motion, we adopt the amendments to land use code 10-28-240.
Vote?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Could you explain that to me?
Okay, item number 8 is changes to the Town of Apple Valley personnel policies and procedures manual. When I first got as mayor, I just decided that we don't need to be paying so much in the way of health insurance where we're paying for families, and I felt like there isn't anybody in the corporate world. In fact, I think Sean even told me that City of St. George only pays about 80% of your personal, and you have to pay your wife's still. Is that right?
The old plan was we pay for a two-party and the rest is extra. Now it's a percentage.
And so they only pay 100% of your own personal amount anymore. So to pay the personal for the whole family and fund the HSA accounts is excessive, and we deleted that months ago. And interesting as it is, Ben, since he's our only full-time employee, would prefer that we delete offering health benefits at all, because he can do better in the private market, but he can only do that if we don't offer that. And so by taking it out of our manual as an option where we're not offering health insurance, it's a combination for Ben because he's asking for it, because now he can go off and get a better policy. I don't know if he's pushing me back on this or not, but I told Ben that we need to pay him what it would have cost us for that insurance, because when I hired him, that was my understanding, we'd be paying, I think it's in the ballpark of $300 or so for his health insurance. And so if he's gonna go off and buy his own, that it's only fair that we let him have that $300 to help pay for that insurance he's gonna get elsewhere. So it's the same dollars to us,
Less dollars to us.
you know, so, but anyway, it's, so, we'll see what else is in there. Is there anything else in that, Ben? I think that was it, wasn't it?
Those were the only changes made.
So it's just really just reading that one item. So we're not offering,
So, Mayor, could I just clarify that last point?
yes,
So what you're saying is that you're proposing to raise his salary, but you are not paying any kind of subsidy or that stipend towards his health insurance. I just want to make that clear on the record.
Right.
So that has, it's
Right.
just for the salary, it has nothing tied to,
Okay.
it has nothing to do with his medical insurance or securing medical insurance or payment of medical insurance.
okay. All right, sounds good. Everybody happy with that? And Ben can still waive it if he wants to, but I had planned on paying that, so, anyway. So that's what we're doing, is deleting that out here.
Where is that at, so I can make sure it's on here?
42, page 42, I believe. There's a couple of spots that shows that, but it's
Yeah, it was named throughout the whole document. There's different places where it was.
24.
But it's in there that you are increasing the salary or you're giving him some.
No, that, because
That's not
that
it.
won't be in the personnel policies.
No, that won't be part of that.
Okay.
Well, I make a motion that we make the changes to the personnel policy and procedures manual.
Second.
As outlined, is that okay with you guys?
As voted.
And vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
We just negotiated some times and
And, meeting minutes for 4/3. Is everything okay, you guys?
Any problems then?
I read them too.
I make a motion, we approve meeting minutes, town council for April 3rd, 2019, and town council meeting for April 17th, 2019.
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
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 And, I'm amazed at the detail of the minutes. It's phenomenal job, Michelle. And, next item on the agenda was events committee, Tish or Debbie Cobb?
So, our last events committee, we did a fundraiser for the park, and we had
Ice cream social.
ice cream social, excuse me. We got 300 and math's not good. Anyway, 300 plus, for the parks. And so we'll continue doing that, and hopefully we'll put our little contribution into our little bathrooms. But our next ice cream social is the 22nd of June, 7 o'clock. And get your ice cream on board, come and get it. And then after that, we'll be doing the 4th of July barbecue, so.
Tish, I think some of our ice cream, we have to buy extra moon over brownie because it disappeared.
It's weird. It's weird. I don't know. Every day I come in, more is gone.
All right, it's either Marty or Ben.
There may have been an anonymous
This is-
donation made.
This is true, it's Marty or Ben, that's true.
Well, we can weigh the ice cream in the morning and then wait the two of them.
There you go.
And then make that determination.
Oh, too funny.
Tear away,
That's why you're
big growth.
All right. So, planning commission, let's see, do you want to report since you're the only one here? Or?
And one?
When's here?
Co-chairman?
Do you have anything you'd like to bring up? Can I bring up something for you?
Thank you for approving the garages.
Yes.
Really tired of that.
Yeah, I know that you are. But I'll make a small announcement on that. I've got my arm twisted by a couple different people, and we are going to, I've made a commitment that on Thursday morning, I think I'll move that to maybe 10 o'clock. Thursday mornings, I will have the agenda ready for the next week's meeting. And then that gives time for Michelle to get the thing out for even possibly Thursday, but at least by Friday. In some cases, if she's goofing off, it could be Monday, but well, no, it's okay though. I want to give her space that if that's what she's got on her calendar, that it's important that she spends family
Well,
time.
that gives us a chance to go look
It
at
gives you
what.
more time. And that's what my goal is, to try and get it there Friday if we can, in most cases. There could be a time when, she's, gallivanting around with her family, which is all right.
He's trying to
Maybe
pick on
not.
me, but really?
Yeah, there you go.
She might be looking out the window with the porta potty.
But we're gonna try and get them to you, do it before the weekend, that gives you over the weekend to look at those. And that's also gonna go with town council, we're gonna try and have those out every single before Friday. And so we're moving up our timetable, so if we don't have it on the calendar by that given date, it's gonna go to the next meeting. And so we're just gonna move up our timetable when we require things in, so I'll get the agenda out soon.
That's
So.
good.
Anyway, that'll make it better for everybody, and gives the public more time to look at it as well, because those will get posted right away online on our website. You can always pull down the packet. If you guys haven't learned how to do that,
That's
you go to the calendar, boom, you can click on it, you can review the packets ahead of time, so. Anyway, so that's my commitment. Fire department, Junior.
Yes, we got, well, the burn season's closed now, I'm sure everybody knows, but no more burning until September 15th, so. I don't wanna see any fires.
I just saw one out there.
Did you?
I don't know, it might have been exhaust.
That tractor out there gets me every evening, I see the smoke. on the
Yeah, it might be
horizon.
exhaust.
Also, we got some new refurbished SCBA's and tanks. We kicked in like, what was it, 1,400 from the fundraiser account. So thanks to everybody who donated money to the department in the last few years, because we were able to use our budget and get some new SCBA's that actually meet the NFPA standards, and they're actually above and beyond actually with the 4,500 PSI. So, it's good. We will have about 6 years on the tanks with refurbished tanks. Mostly everything you get is like 2008 on the date. So you get 15 years of life before you have to either recertify them or slowly just kind of buy one or here and there every year. So the ones we had, I had in the budget for a couple of years and we were never able to actually make the purchase. So now we're good. We can just kind of chip away at the SCBA tanks for
Every
year
chili
round.
cook-off, we just
Yeah.
spend money.
Yeah.
We'll come down and spend money.
Yeah. So, got a chiefs meeting on the 13th. We'll be having updates on what the fire season's gonna be looking like. It looks like it's gonna be a late season, so just like last year. I'm gonna be sending Tender 195 down to Leeds tomorrow morning. That's an engine that Navy gets out once or twice a year, twice most of the time. It's got 500 gallons, it's barely over a Type 6. I mean, and we don't get it out much. And it's pretty much the oldest tender that they even give out to departments anymore through the FEPP. So what we're doing is moving that down to Leeds Department. They do not have a water tender, so we're gonna move that tender down to Leeds, and I'm gonna be able to park the Type 6 Hummer in here and start getting going on that hopefully. So also, I got a red card class that I'm gonna be teaching next week for new firefighters. So I'm gonna be teaching that next week with a little assistance from the BLM. We got one new recruit, Jim. He's actually from Paradise, California. So I can come and give you guys a little talk about how bad things can get. He lost his house and pretty much everything he owned in that fire. So.
That was bad one.
Yeah, the campfire. CWPP, it's all finished. I just need to put it forth to the council, so that's probably gonna be, I'm gonna try and get that on the next agenda so that it can be signed off on. Let's see. The height, okay. So we got 2 new hydrants, which is great out in Bubbling Wells area. We got one at the cops residence, and then we're having another one put up a little higher up on Andy Brown. Yeah, Andy Brown's property up there. So we're getting a little more coverage up there, which is great. Makes you feel good to have water up in the middle of nowhere. So, and that area is probably one of our more scarier areas, just because it's so wide open and those junipers and everything's in there so long. Let's see, I'm actually going to be having the CWPP representative coming possibly next meeting also. I'm trying to schedule a time with her. I'm trying to get her into the next meeting so she can explain the actual requirements for the mitigation. So that dollar amount that's required, they've jumped back and forth with that. The last guy pretty much was let go because, in my opinion, he wasn't communicating what was needed. So it's a good thing I kept all the information from the last 2 years, because I think we'd be really screwed. The last guy that they had controlling that CWPP program with the mitigation really wasn't on top of it. Also, I still need to get with you and the council about that waiver, some sort of waiver, because, I mean, we got cinder roads going down everywhere, so I really want to do something like that. Everybody's been really receptive to having people who build homes out in, Bubbling Wells area or something like that, the roads don't meet fire code. So it's a good way for the town to put out there, that this is what we have, and you know where you're building, so you know the liability you're putting yourself in, so.
What's kind of up with that whole property? Because that should be,
The Holtz property?
should be not cinders. I went by today, I was shocked to see cinders down there. It should be,
So his engineer,
He should be
he
able to-
actually, we went back and forth a ton on that. He actually produced some landmark documents that they aren't really standing up to that much. They don't really wanna stand up to what they produced. So I talked with them directly about the cinders, and they actually did a test on cinders saying that 6 inches of cinders meets code. And if we've all been out there, we see how fast 6 inches disappears. We're already down to sand and building wells again after we got all that stuff down. So the maintenance thing on that is, in my opinion, it's too much for.
yeah, but what the approval was on that is there was road base. You know,
So he produced the 6 inches of cinders, and we went back and forth a ton. And with that documentation, before he even got anywhere, I told him that he's possibly gonna be putting road base on there. So he knows that the road base might be going on top of there. From what I talked with the landmark, they won't really stand by. There's kind of it's a bad area. So what it says in the fire code is approved surface. That's all it says. So it doesn't say road base, it doesn't say this. So per town standards, it should say road base.
It does say that before council.
I haven't seen that anywhere, whereas.
And was on the approval, was that one of the conditions of approval?
It's got the exact verbiage, that's my understanding. It was going to be a road base.
Yeah, so I would say that if that was in the approval too, but if it's in the town standards, you know, you have to have an all-weather surface.
Yeah.
And.
And that's how we describe it, all weather surface. I think.
So, and cinders is not all-weather.
No, and that's what I've explained to multiple people over and over and over, and that's why, you know, I really want, when they come to you and tell you, okay, well, we got a mile out in front of us that is, you know, this, whatever, you know.
Right.
We're in a bad spot with that, I think, personally, because we don't have surface, in my opinion, the fire code doesn't actually describe the surface. So they could throw down and say, you know, road base, gravel. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what they could actually pass the compaction test with exactly. So it's kind of a little gray for our area because of how much different stuff people like to throw down on the road. So I think this, in my opinion, this waiver would actually eliminate some of these problems that we have existing, because these problems aren't going away. And they're problems that are gonna stay for a very long time. I mean, who's gonna pave and it's also 3 inches rolled and then 3 inches on top of that rolled to meet the requirement of the cinders. But I don't know. There's so much road out there, period. There's people who cut roads everywhere out there. I mean, it's not the only area. I don't know the solution to allowing people to move out there.
Right, and they're required to be on a dedicated roadway to build their home.
Yeah, we're not requiring dedicated, but we're requiring that there are some standards though that have to do with fire code, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna say road base.
And I guess what I'm saying is if someone wants to build a house from the dedicated road and they're, you know,
Right.
3,000 feet back there, that's their driveway. But if they're actually out there cutting roads and asking for building permits, well, those houses back there that are 3,000 feet away are not on a dedicated road.
Well, we're requiring that they put an all-weather road down to their property in order to build.
Right,
And
so those,
that's
I guess what I'm
what's
saying
the-
is those other, from there on, that's their responsibility. You know, so if someone were to cut a road, just go out there and grade a couple, 4 roads and start building something, first of all, we wouldn't give them a permit to be building out there, but if they just did that.
That's all.
That's not the town's responsibility to maintain that roadway out there, because it is not a town roadway.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the fire marshal told me also, is like, we're not calling it a fire road, period.
Yeah.
He said they know their liability, they know what they're doing.
It's on their
they're
property,
putting
they've done it
themselves at a
all.
lot of risk.
But if it is
So,
one of our roadways, or we accept it in a subdivision plat as a roadway, then we have that responsibility to say, in order to get out there, you have to make sure that that road from here to here has that all-weather service or whatever we're requiring, or whatever was required when it was approved to be done.
Yeah, we're requiring them to do the frontage of their property, in an all-weather road, which is 6 inches of road base, is how it's defined and explained to them. And that's why I was shocked when I saw the cinders all over his road, because I know we've had that conversation with him.
yeah, we have,
So, anyway, that's,
it's
but,
a sticky situation.
his road is, still not, he does have a piece of his roadway is dedicated. But there's plenty of them out there that are not dedicated. And, our policy in the past has been that, you know, you're on your own. And I haven't liked that policy, and so I've changed it, and we started, trying to improve some of these roads, because they're public right-of-ways. They're not, they're probably, they could be, private in that respect, but no one can put a gate up in some of these roads, because they've been open so many years. And, because they're public right-of-ways, I've learned at, a UDOT meeting that all we have to do is say that we're gonna take care of it, and then we can get road money for taking care of it, even though they're not dedicated. They don't have to be dedicated for us to take care of them. And we've been making a lot of effort trying to improve all the roads for everybody, instead of this, holding a gun to their head, dedicated routes, you know, attitude, so.
Well, and I certainly agree, not all of our roads are dedicated roads either. However, if it is a roadway that doesn't meet the definitions under the law for a prescriptive roadway, then we shouldn't be out there doing any work on them.
Right. Well, there's, yeah, but it's, we have a problem out there that's been brewing long before we were town, and people have been building out in these areas. And my goal is to dump some cinders on them, and let's improve them at least to that degree, because they're already there. You go up to Frank's house, for example, and going on those roadways getting up there, it's already a mess. And I can, you know, with a little effort, I can make it better for everybody, and I'd rather do that than just sit back and say, not unless you guys dedicate it or come up with a bunch of money, because nobody wants to do either of that. But, you know, it's not that hard for us to go up there and dump some cinders, spread them, and to try to make them better for everybody. And most people out there are smiling right now, because the roads are better. And we're heading that direction, and it's not that hard for us to do some of that, and then we get some BC road money in the process of doing that.
Could I make one comment, please?
Yes.
Rich Cobb, 1193 East Big Canyon. See, we're up against that right now, but even though we agree, I want my road to be able to be passed in case we have an emergency, right? So I am gonna do my frontage of 6 inches of road base, but the problem is the road's leading to that. So if you necessarily can't say, okay, I'm gonna protect myself and do the 6 inches of road base on my frontage, 333, but that still forces me to sign a waiver though. See, the only fear I have with the waiver is, supposing somehow, some way it gets back to the insurance company, and then they say, oh, you can't get to your house. The fire department has you sign a waiver saying that, you know, we're necessarily not responsible. What happens? They drop you?
Sean?
I haven't heard of that happening
Right,
before.
that's my fear though.
And the waivers are not, it's not uncommon, especially in the rural areas, for them to request
Well,
those.
me and Junior kind of had this conversation. That's the only fear I have, is that.
And the good thing for you is you have a hydrant right there, and so.
Right, well, that's what Junior said, well, that's why it's required. It's just common sense in my eyes.
Right, but if all else fails, you can get some hoses up there and just maybe get going on something.
Yeah, we'll hike in, or do whatever.
Well, I do want to get hoses on hand.
Well,
Who knows? A hose, you know? So.
I have a son about it.
What's that?
Just don't open it up all the way when you're on the end.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Well, I'm worried about who will be on the.
I'm not covering my water my lawn with it. Hopefully I'll never have to use them.
Junior, I have a
Yeah.
quick question. Rich called into dispatch the other day. If you go down Canyon, you know that little road that you can go up to Buffalo Mills, that little dirt road?
Yeah,
On the left-hand side, there's a car that's way back, an abandoned car.
oh, really?
If people go messing around in there, that could
Look over to the left, just before the train
cause
is
a
out.
fire or
look
something,
you know,
and kids playing
You'll
around.
see, I called dispatch, maybe they,
It's still
they
there.
can look. I know it's still there, but maybe, but the hood is down now, so somebody was over there.
Sheriffs will tag it, and then I think it's 48 or 72 hours.
Oh, okay, we'll keep our eye open.
They'll try and contact the individual, because I've called on multiple cars, they'll try and contact the owner if they can't get hold of them.
It looked like it was stolen, they joyroded it, just trashed it, that's what it looked like.
Probably a stolen vehicle.
No, I binned them out, I gave them the bin, so, and the hood was down, so I think maybe they went over there.
I only got one more thing. The June 22nd is gonna be our community mitigation day, like we did last year. I've got a couple of homes already picked out that we're gonna go and clean up and clean up around. So I think we got 30 years.
Just asking.
Yeah, thanks for coming to my house.
So people who really can't bend over and pull weeds. You might qualify. So.
What time and where?
The
Yeah.
22nd, I haven't got a time, we usually, I think last year we started like 7 or something like that, so.
Is that like in the morning?
Yeah, it'll be morning, it'll be an 8-hour day, and we'll go out and bust out some people's homes and help them out a little bit, so.
Junior,
Yeah,
if you wanna do like the luncheon afterwards?
yeah, I'll probably do that again,
While the guys are out doing their thing,
yeah,
we can get set up if you wanna do the hot dogs and stuff.
yeah, sounds good.
That's the ice cream social day.
Right.
Yeah, you were in our neighborhood a few years ago, probably wasn't even a few years ago, and you did do a dynamite job of cleaning up my neighbor's yard.
Oh.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
The problem is, it looks worse now than it did. Yeah, it's a shame, and Allison knows that. If you're gonna clean somebody's yard up, you figure at least they should be able to continue cleaning it. And this yard is totally gone. And I knew the people that actually lived there, and they put a ton of money into this area, this yard, and now you wouldn't even know it. It's a shame that you do all that work and get all those volunteers, and I was out there myself. And then they just let it go back to the nature, and worse, you know, the nature is actually better than what it is after it starts blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to fix that problem, besides, once we can get this fire council together, they'll be handling that type of thing, so they can actually,
Yeah.
they'll probably be better after being out than I will, for them areas that we've worked and done stuff, so maybe they can contact these individuals after we clean up and ask them and see how they're doing.
Because I try to keep my, we've been weeding, every week we have at least 5 containers full of weeds. And the neighbor on the other side, John, he works on his yard every weekend. And then you got the one in the middle, it's hard to keep control of ours, especially with the, what are they called, chisels? They're going mad now. I mean, I see them out there on the road. So, if you don't get a handle of those things, every year, they double or triple or quadruple.
Yeah.
We got a problem with this.
That's all I have, if someone else has any questions.
All right, Harold Merritt, do you have anything for the water district?
Just a news item that we've, with in cooperation with the town,
Hang on a second,
completed
hang on a second, we got some talkers here.
we have completed the agreements with Gooseberry, and they have been recorded. So that project is in the bag. They have deposited their money.
Yep.
And so, that was good to see. And so, we're just waiting to hear from them where they want to start, and when they want us to get our connection over to them and how this will unfold. So, as far as all the preliminaries and the money flow, that's, the project's, underway. I have, Gooseberry, or just Canyon. We'll be discussing that in the next few days. So things are operating as normal. Finally warmed up, quit raining. We're looking forward to that. Our revenues are related to the weather. So, anyway, things are going fine.
Harold, are they getting ready to turn the spigots on?
Sure looks like it.
That's entirely up to them. They have the water rights, the water
Oh,
rights.
I know, I'm just,
I just had a phone call from Travis while I was sitting here, and I texted him back, told him I'd call him. I talked to him before and asked him, to consider his project along the highway and to use that agricultural land for commercial land, which was a conversation with him a year or so ago. He said before he did anything, he'd get back with me, but I haven't heard from him for a while, so, he has to use that water some fashion.
right.
And so I don't know what his plans are, if he's gonna plant something, if he's just gonna make mud for a while and call it good, or, but, something's gotta happen somewhere, so he may well be planning on planting something. That pivot, that full blast runs about 1 million gallons a day.
I know. And he's got 3 of them?
We get
Well,
at
it's
least
all 3 of them produce that.
Yeah, the town uses about 27 million a year, so in a month, they use as much on that pivot as the town. That's Cedar Point, Apple Valley, Mount Zion Estates, and Canaan, the whole sugar patch.
Wow.
So, this agricultural use is a big water use, but again, it's, their water, their well,
Right.
their choice, but we'd like to encourage Travis to do something different.
Yeah.
Code enforcement.
Is this,
Right,
are you
right,
gonna
water.
put another, holding tank there?
That's part of our plans with, the developer.
Good.
Oh, I've got a couple of things. I received some nuisance complaints on, Connex. And according to the town policy, Connexes are illegal. In our area, we got like 5 now, and the other thing is, they've even going to the point where they're parking on a vacant lot, and it happens to be blue in different shades. So in order to get a handle on this, a Connex is an accessory building. It, first of all, anything over 200 plus square foot needs to have a permit. And secondly, we don't want them to continue, because I had a builder say that they use them. But the problem with a builder using them like I don't want over here, they either sell it to the owner or they build onto it. So somehow we need to get a handle on the Connexes. I did talk to one. I usually don't do that. I just send out violation notices, and which I have done. Nobody has contacted me about the violation notices. This problem started a long time ago on a previous mayor. He was able to get it through because he called it C-crates. C-create. We had no idea what was on the county, and we couldn't say what a C-crate was. And then, so he, in my area, he was able to bring it in. Even a Connex that is, the bigger ones are 360 square feet. 320, I'm sorry, and the other ones are 160 square feet. The young lady I went and talked to the other day, I explained, even though she doesn't need a permit for her, it is still illegal with the town's policy in a number of places. And she didn't realize that, and she said she would actually stuff it or make it look as an accessory building. You do have another problem with too, is location. It's not a good thing to have them in the front yard or close to the front yard. and in one of our cases, there is a 40-footer sitting out in front. As more people are seeing this, and more people, and the nuisance complaints they've been wrote from a long time ago, and 2 of them just came in within the last couple of weeks. I don't know, that's up to the mayor, but at one point, I think Sean might be involved, but we gotta get a handle on it because more of them wanna come in. Now, if you take a drive around Utah or go in other parts of the country or whatever, maybe a few in Hurricane, but you don't see a lot of connexes. And it's debatable whether it affects your resale value. Some people say no, some people love them, some people hate them. But personally, myself, I don't like them. It sets a bad preference, and they belong on a dock, or they belong on a construction site. But I don't think they belong in a residential area. So as it stands now, the town policy is that they are illegal. But if some chance they would like to match it to their primary structure in some way, and maybe even put it not in front, but behind their property, it might be more appealing, or even put a fence up to kind of make everything uniform and not turn us area into a shipping creek. There is one in Cedar Point that I know that actually bury hits a good portion of it. Well, that's acceptable if you want to bury it and kind of conceal it, but the more people seize them with the new houses coming in, the more of them want them. So unless we kind of address this point now, you'll see them everywhere. And I got 5 of them in our area. I noticed the new one coming in, so maybe people will get the point. And some people don't even realize that they're illegal, that it says right in the policy, you cannot have a shipping crate. And so as you send out notices, they get the hint. Then the expense of moving them out, if they're in violation of the town. Well, maybe there's a common solution to the problem where I said, if you could match the structure of your house and make it look like an accessory building, and maybe put it behind the rear portion of your house, that would be acceptable. So it's a problem. I've sent out violation notices, and I'm probably gonna write out a few more. And I gotta address these nuisance complaints, and I can't just address the nuisance complaint on the ones they vote on it. I gotta write all the connexes up, because if I write it up just on the ones that were in violation, they're gonna come back and say, you let so-and-so put theirs in there, and in a house being built, you let those put in there, and you're picking on me. So I gotta be fair to everybody and write everybody up, and it looks like it's coming to that point. Outside of that, everything's running smooth.
Maybe a reminder of the water bills, and cite the ordinance, and just remind everyone that they're illegal.
Like a PSA for the month.
Yeah,
Did you
let's do
know?
that, Ben. Yes.
And just to clarify for the record, when Rich was referring to the policy, he means the ordinance.
Ordinance.
And also, it's not within the authority of any of the town personnel to say, if you move it or you stucco it, you can have it. If it's not in the ordinance and it's not allowed, and that's something you want to do, then you have to change the ordinance to say you can have these as long as the outside matches the home or whatever.
What he's quoting is an existing regulation that says an accessory building needs to be similar in texture, color.
But if it doesn't meet the definition of an accessory building, if it's too small.
That's what I'm saying, is it does meet the definition of accessory building, and that's why he's saying if you stucco it or if you.
But you were saying some of them are smaller than the square footage that you have.
Yeah, they even have-
So those are the ones I'm saying, if they're still illegal, you can't make them legal by saying if you match it because the ordinance doesn't allow it. So if you want to be able to do those that don't qualify as an accessory building with the square footage under our current ordinance, you'll have to change the ordinance to allow that to happen.
Or we'll have to ask for variance, which,
They wouldn't qualify for it because the variance, and the variance requires 3 things under state law, and they would not meet those requirements, so they couldn't get a variance.
So small ones aren't legal at all,
Unless you make a change.
unless you make a change to it. So. And we don't want them anyway, so. All right, thanks, Rich, and roads and storm drainage. Denny.
Well, I haven't got anything on it, except for one thing, you know, the mayor brought in a new truck, and he's got that yellow device behind it that's actually a grader that will be running over the roads pretty soon. We have mapped out the roads that we're gonna go look at this week. There's a meeting of the roads group tomorrow after the water board meeting, and we're gonna see which roads we need to look at first. And then we'll start dumping or doing whatever we have to do, but if anybody has any problems or concerns, please give us a call if you think your road's worse than everybody else's.
Okay. Margie.
We didn't have a meeting,
Okay.
don't have any buzz.
And-
No buzz. No buzz.
How about now?
Make a motion, we open public comments?
Second.
So,
Aye.
aye. So any public comments? I mean, we kind of talked this to death, but we always like to open it up just in case you got something we didn't cover yet. Yes,
Thank you for going and getting the truck.
you're welcome.
We appreciate that.
People say, it wasn't that a terrible drive? It's like, you know what, I kind of get on the open road and I enjoy the time with my thoughts. And it gives me time to think about different things, and, you know, it's almost like a meditation. It's a little rough, it's a rough meditation. It wasn't that upsetting, it was, you know, but after it's all done, I just slept like a baby the next night, it's no big deal, so. I was just happy that I have the time to be able to do something like that, and it saves the town some money, and people think I'm crazy for going that far for a truck, and when you look at this truck, you see why I went so far.
It's great.
The thing's like new. And that's kind of why we went that far, because we want to get something that will last us a long time, and it'll start when you go out there, that kind of thing, so. The road groomer, we'll see how that pans out. You know, I have my hopes that it will based on my research on it, and if it doesn't, we'll, you know, figure out a way to get it back, so.
So is that multi-surface, dirt,
Just dirt.
cinder, oh, just.
Well, dirt, cinders.
Oh, okay.
Dirt is just gravel.
Dirt, cinders.
Oh, all right.
Takes the washboards out.
Just takes.
Oh.
Fills the holes.
All good stuff.
So we'll see how that works. I mean, it could be we drag Gooseberry and they're throwing rocks at me because we made it worse than not. If that's the case,
Anything could make it worse.
this is why, and this is why we have a trial period on it, where we get to try it out, see if we like it. If we like it, we write a check. If we don't, we take it back. Didn't cost us that much, so. Anyway, it could be a good idea. Any other public comments?
I hate to, but I will.
Yes.
Thistles. It's getting bad, and the point is, up to my daughter-in-law that over here, Kelly and Christie's, we work hard on that, I help them do that stuff over there. The lot next behind them is an absolute crap hole of those things. And they are high, and everywhere you look down in yards, people just aren't getting them done, they're not taking them out. They can spray them when they're small, go out there and just hit a spot sprayer, you can eradicate them real quick. But nobody's doing it, what can we do about it? The BLM's up there, they spray up there on the Gooseberry. When and I've been up there when they have their rigs out there and they're spraying for them up there, but. And over here, where those equipment is, there's bunches of them, and even the farmer down here, they're all along that road, we got it.
Yeah,
They're taking over this.
It is out of hand, and everybody knows you're supposed to take care of them, and they're not. To be honest with you, I might even have some in my backyard I gotta look at, so.
So Kevin Sayre came in today, he's been in contact with the county, and he's got it scheduled to come out and spray for him.
Great.
Before they flower.
Before they're getting ready.
They're already up there. As soon as you hit them with the poison, those things burst forth and do their seed everywhere.
Yeah.
You really have to.
Cut the seeds off first in paper bags.
That's the only thing we're
That's what
gonna
you
be
do.
able to do is cut the seed off. Not cut them.
Anyway,
Okay, thanks.
it's an open moon, but.
Any other comments?
Jack's that great, huge one.
I make a motion, we close public comments?
Vote.
Aye.
Aye. I'm in favor one.
I make a motion, we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
We didn't do it.
So Sean, I see that tag on you, it says you found. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Telephone number.